So you're a sergeant currently.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever dealt with any of those like First Amendment auditors or any of those guys that do those YouTube
Oh yeah.
channels that like, I need to talk to your supervisor. I need to talk to the sergeant now.
Yeah, the sovereign citizens we get a lot of those. Those guys are pretty interesting.
I am not the all capital fiction. I am the living man whose mark is that of life.
Tertelget is representing himself today as the natural living man. It's his own interpretation of a sovereign citizen.
It's all garbage.
Oh,
the sovereign citizen stuff's garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the same. It's basically the same talking points. I think they all follow the same book or manuscript or whatever they get. You show up and they're running their video camera and they're trying to bait you into losing your temper or tripping you up on something. But
Asada L. I am a private citizen. I don't carry a license.
Okay. Well, you need to have a license in Ohio to drive a vehicle.
Not as a private citizen.
Yeah, as any citizen.
First, I watched the Sovereign Citizens just because you catch a glimpse of a YouTube video and you're like, what? Sovereign Citizen? What is this about? And I don't need a driver's license because you can't impede my ability to travel, And then you do a little more digging and you're like, okay, you guys are fools and you're going to jail.
Give me my car. What are you guys doing? What's this? They're jerking me out of the fucking car, Michelle. Get out. Don't get me out of the car. All right, I'm getting out. All right, I'm getting out. I'm getting out. You guys jerking me around.
That's what's going to happen. And that's what does happen. But then I started watching the First Amendment auditors, which are a little bit more reasonable individuals, although they're still
sure
goofy as well. But
I'm doing a First and Second Amendment audit on Maxed Out Garage, Automotive and Collision. Going to see if they respect my rights to record in the open carry.
And typically the things they talk about, it seems like, tend to be to that. They're going to go and just stick cameras annoyingly in people's face. And,
right.
It's like, yeah, you got the right to do that, but you're being an asshole. Like, just period. It's like, it's like the old description of when you're duck hunting and someone comes and sets up like 100 yards from you and where they could spray you with shells and you go and talk to them and they're like, hey, this is public land. It's mine as much as it is yours. Okay. If I see that dude at the park the next week sitting on a bench and I go and sit on his lap, he's not going to have the same idea of it. It's like, yeah, I can go in a park bench. You and your wife are sitting there on a 2-seater park bench with a little crack over there. I can go and cram myself in there. I can do that. But if I do it, I'm an asshole. It's like, that line of reasoning is just so ridiculous. It's like, it's like Paul says, and I'm not good at quoting Bible verses, but it's something to the effect of like, you have the right to do anything. You should not do,
Sure. That's what I always tell people. I say, you can say or do whatever you want. You can, but there's consequences one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny when you get into that stuff with the, Constitution auditors, First Amendment auditors, things like that, because, and you can make an argument for some of the strained relations with some communities with policing over the years back in the day. But just the majority of police officers, they swear to uphold the Constitution. We're actually auditing the Constitution on a regular basis for our citizens. Now, sure, are there bad apples? Sure. Just like you're a teacher, you know that there's a small percentage of teachers that make a bad name for everybody, but the majority of police officers out there, swear to uphold the Constitution, and we're protecting everybody's rights against the government. We're kind of like in between, making sure that your rights are being upheld. So they kind of get a starry-eyed look whenever you put it to it that way.
How does the police force deal with, and I can speak from a teacher side, if there's really bad teachers, nothing really happens to them. They just don't get rid of them. Everyone just kind of knows it. And I'm thinking of one teacher in particular that everyone knew was just not good, didn't interact with the children well. It's not anyone that I work with recently. I've worked for over 23 years. So I'm just thinking of one person. And there's just no real way to weed that person out. And there's no way as a fellow teacher to do anything about it. What is it like in the police force if you kind of know someone is not necessarily corrupt per se, but it's just like really doesn't handle situations properly, just is inept at doing the job. How does that's got to be very difficult as a police officer too, I would think.
Well, it starts with having the right environment. If somebody comes into our department, you've got to set a good example and set the bar and say, listen, this is how we do things here. If somebody doesn't want to toe that line, the guys that I work with are mostly good Christian men, and they have a strict code of ethics and try to do things the right way, and we don't tolerate that. But it ultimately comes down to leadership. Normally, when I see issues in departments, it's just bad leadership. And my wife's a school teacher. She tells me stories. I'm sure you've seen it a bunch of times. If you've got the wrong principals or school board making the call, you can get in a bad situation in a hurry.
Yeah, culture can go bad really fast based on administration. All of a sudden, there's little side pockets of conversations behind closed doors all the time.
Right.
And you're right. So it's a leadership that sets the tone, just like the coach on a basketball or football team or minister at a church. It just they set the tone and it kind of trickles down. Thank you for watching this clip from the North American Waterfowler podcast. Make sure and subscribe. If you want to see the full episode of this podcast, go to the description where you can click the link. And as always, starting up September, I will be posting all of my waterfowl hunting videos for this coming hunting season.